thank you so much for joining us once again for another episode of Getting to the Top, where we talk to transformational leaders about their leadership journey and how they got to the top of their industry or the top of their company. And we hope that by telling you the stories and sharing this information with you, that we inspire you to pursue your own leadership journey, as well as to gain some insights and some potential tools and tricks to transform your organization. So that's what we're doing today. And today I'm honored to have with me Lauri-Ann Ainsworth. Lauri-Ann and I have both been CEOs at the same time of sister companies. And so it's really great because at that time, we could share wins as well as challenges and rely on each other for support, which is always something that's so necessary on this journey. So Lauri-Ann, welcome. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and to tell us a little bit about what you're working on these days.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show, Raquel. I really appreciate it. I've been loving all the episodes, so I'm so honored to be another guest on your show. So let me tell you a little bit about me. So I am the CEO of the Branson Center of Entrepreneurship Caribbean. As Raquel said, one of the companies under the Virgin brand. So we have this amazing brand that's backing us. But we are doing a lot of things at the Branson Center. And me personally, I am moving into my own things as well, right? Because we don't have to be a CEO of a company and not pursue our individual dreams and aspirations. We can leverage everything to the benefit of the companies we work for and our own dreams. So that's what I'm doing.
Excellent, excellent. And this is why I'm doing this podcast, because it's so important for me to see that, when we're looking at climate change and all of the things that's happening, I felt there's a piece that's missing in terms of how we transform this world. And I think that diversity and gender diversity specifically is one of the ways that we can do that. And so it's really important to me to highlight this variety of voices of women who I know are doing phenomenal things, but also of women who I think have the potential to do so much more, either serving on boards or leading in a number of different capacities. So to highlight those voices and the things that they've done. And so, which is why I wanted to talk to you specifically. So tell me about your leadership journey. Where did you start? How did you get here?
Wow. So, the journey is ebbs and flows, ups and downs, right? And I think that, those are the stories that we need to hear more of the ups and downs. So I started in corporate Jamaica. My background was in marketing, and I started out in the advertising agency. I moved my way up. I was lucky enough to always get roles that I was in a managerial position. So I learned about leadership, because I don't think you just become a leader. You may have leadership qualities and tendencies, but it was a journey to learning that. I moved my way up. I was in fast-moving consumer goods. I moved into finance, and I was marketing communications manager for a financial institution. And from the outside, things looked really great. But I had the entrepreneurial bug, and I wanted to pursue my dream. So I jumped ship. And I became an entrepreneur. I started my own business. And when I did that, I realized what it meant to be an entrepreneur, and that it wasn't the bells and whistles. It wasn't this freedom, Mai Tais on the beach type of situation. So I had to get a job. So I had to get a job in order to be a business owner, so I could pay myself, because I had to pay my employees and pay the bills from the business. That job meant that I took an entry-level position so that I could run my business and get some extra income. It was very humbling and for me.
Imagine. So what was the business?
So my business, I created a marketing agency, and I started supporting large corporations, medium-sized corporations with their entire marketing effort. And I was winning clients. I mean, I was burning out though, because I was doing proposals at night, delivering the proposals during the day, and I had a newborn. Oh my goodness. So, and then I went and got a job
here and there.
Yeah. So, it was a lot. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work understanding how to also be a leader to a team, inspire them, be accountable to your clients and the responsibilities that you have, and just trying to manage it all. So when I got the job that was now just paying some of my bills, my expenses. As I said, I started at that kind of entry level position where I was just like taking photos and putting it on social media for a company. It was there that led me to here. It was there that my then CEO saw what I was actually capable of and gave me more responsibility and asked me if I was going to take that on. And so I started doing more high level work, which I was used to before in my previous capacity, but this was stretching me even further. And I took on that challenge. And it was from there that I became acting CEO of that entity, which was in entrepreneurship. And it was from my role and the work that I was doing there that I knew the then CEO of the Branson Center, who was familiar with my work, asked me to come and join the team when they moved to Kingston. So I joined the team. And 3 years later, I became the CEO of the Branson Center.
Fabulous, fabulous. So when your CEO sort of saw the potential in you and said, I think I want to give you more responsibility. And at the same time, you have this going concern, this entrepreneurship effort that you're running. Are you thinking to yourself, boy, is that going to take me away from my path? Or are you thinking just the opportunity that I need? In a lot of the conversations that I'm having, I find that women are sitting by and opportunities are presenting themselves, but I'm not necessarily hearing a lot of stories of, I went after that opportunity. And so I'm trying to find out, where on the spectrum were you? Were you thinking, I could support this organization in a more meaningful way, or this is really taking me away from my path and I want to be doing my own thing?
So, I think it's a mix of both. But what I think the important factor here was that the company that I was working for, the work we were doing was something that meant something to me. And so I had a connection with it. So that was the drive and the impetus for me to say, yes, let me jump on this. Let me, take this opportunity. Of course, there were moments where I said, I'm just doing free work. Because you're given all these additional responsibilities and you think, is this worth it? Because, I'm trying to run my own business. I have the kids dealing with all these things, but the passion that I had for this particular industry drove me to do that. So I grabbed the opportunity and I ran with it. I was exhausted, but it paid off.
Yeah.
It paid off.
So how, that's such an interesting question. And I know this isn't really where we had planned to take the discussion, but I think it's so interesting in that you're here, you're doing this work, you're being recognized for your efforts, but you're being asked to stretch and to do work that is quote unquote free work. And I think a lot of women get caught in that cycle where they're being asked to do extra, but women are typically in organizations relied on to do the extra work without getting the extra credit. And so what's the fine line between, I want to do this extra work because I am passionate and because I see this leading somewhere, or they're taking advantage?
Yeah, I think it comes down to, how is this making your life better?
Yeah.
It may not be within the organization. It may not be that you're getting accolades or you're getting recognized for the work you're doing, but is this giving you any more value? Is this making you a better person? Are you learning a new skill, right?
Yeah.
So I look at these things and I go, look, there are challenges in life all the time. Are you going to turn it into a gift and an opportunity? Or are you going to walk away from it and say, I can't do it? You have to know which one, because some of them are burnout and you need to walk away. But if it is a gift and an opportunity for you, it's that discernment and to decide that this is how this is going to further me. And so I'm going to do this for me. And if it coincides with the company or the organization, then even better. But ultimately, you can't lose if you're learning and you're bettering yourself.
And rounding out your skill set. I think that's so important. Yeah, because I see a lot of resumes when we're looking either for senior staff, etc. And I'm blessed. I have a phenomenal team. But when we were looking at resumes, you sometimes see people talking about what the job is and not necessarily talking about what they brought to the role or how they are well-rounded in pursuit of a position. And I always feel like that's such a a missed opportunity. Because if you tell me that you were a marketing manager, I know what a marketing manager does. You don't have to describe the day-to-day of a marketing manager. What I want to know is, you as a marketing manager, how did you do this to make this, to innovate, to really make this into a new opportunity, to make this, to revolutionize the way that this company was doing marketing? What I want to know about is you, not anybody else. And it feels like you saw the opportunity and took it for that and said, how am I using this to build my skill set and build my brand?
Exactly. And I think that's such an important point that you brought up, because if you start to think about the work that you're in that way, if you think about your resume, what am I going to say that I did? It gives you that kind of thinking to say, while I'm here, can I recommend doing something? Can I put myself in this position so that I can make a bigger impact? And you have to be strategic in your thinking and the way you're doing things, right? So it's not a sneaky thing, but it's, how am I going to show me, and how am I going to take advantage of opportunities that are presented? And so you have to be strategic in when you're doing work and you are climbing to the top, if that's your aspiration.
Yeah. And there's so many times where I'm talking to women and they're saying, I had to be convinced. I didn't think I was ready, or I had to be convinced to take on this new role. And we're not going to get the critical mass to change things as they are, unless women are willing to step into these new spaces and willing to take the chances and willing to fail and recover and still continue going, because you only fail when you give up. You don't fail if you make a mistake or if you fall. If that was the case, then trust me when I tell you, I wouldn't be here.
You know what? But guess what? It happens though. It happens.
Yeah.
And that's a reality. So I don't think we can walk away from the reality that sometimes, yes, you have to be given that extra kind of kick or nudge or push to say, you can do this. I think when you're moving into that space, there's always going to be trepidation. There's always going to be insecurities. I don't know anybody who's not going to have an insecurity stepping into that C-suite, stepping into the role of CEO to kind of, this is all on you. Mm-hmm. I certainly had that. And I think that what supported me was greater self-awareness. Being okay with me and what I brought to the table allowed me to step into it more fully as myself, in terms of the confidence and knowing that what I was going to bring was not the same thing that my predecessors brought, but it was going to be just as good. We're all going to be able to give to this organization what we can. And it's stepping into that space of, what are my strengths? What are my skill sets? What is my zone of genius that I can particularly bring in here? And when you do that, then that imposter syndrome, all of that, negativity that's speaking in your brain, it can kind of just
goes away. What I love is that you were looking at sort of the humanity of everybody in the role. So when you're feeling doubtful about your own skills, you're realizing, listen, everybody who would have come into this role would have come into it with some doubts and some trepidation and some potential imposter syndrome. So why not me?
Yeah, exactly. Why not me? And I think that's such another important point. Like, why not you? Why is it that you are not good enough to step into this role? And you know what, Raquel, it comes down to all of us have these saboteurs that are in our brains that tell us that we're not good enough for whatever reason. We get these that we use to protect ourselves throughout our lives. And when we are ready to weaken those saboteurs, strengthen our mental fitness, and step into our sage powers, where we can say, you know what, why not me? And I'm going to show why not me. Then you're going to be the best leader that you can be, because you can do no better than being that sage.
And being your authentic self.
Yes.
And accepting the responsibility of leadership. And I see so many people in roles where they're like, things aren't being done well. It's like, well, why not you? Why not you? Why not take up the mantle? Why not? If you see the things that aren't going well, rather than just telling somebody else, take up the mantle and lead on your own, because I feel like we have so much talent that we don't tap into.
Yeah.
And it's a travesty for everybody, not just for the people who aren't living out their full potential, but also for the organizations that aren't getting access to the best talent available, the countries that aren't filled with the companies that are doing as best as they can. So much that we are missing out on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, you're hitting the nail on the head. We do need to step into that because we all came here. We all have experiences, good and bad, that were given to you to support you on your journey. We all have skill sets that can support you in being a great leader, if that's your calling, can support you in the role that you're applying for, because obviously you would be applying for something that's related to what you're doing. But I think it's so important for us to own that, because when we can own it and we can master ourselves, master those strengths and stay focused in that area, then if that's your zone of genius, then there's nobody better than you, right? So you're going to step into it and you're just going to own it and you're going to be it and not try to be someone else.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So what's your favorite part of running the Branson Center?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, it's just an amazing brand to be associated with, right? And
yeah.
So, it is absolutely an opportunity of a lifetime to be associated with Richard Branson, his brand, Virgin, Holly, just what they stand for and what they do. Yeah. And so being a part of the Branson Center from that perspective is amazing, because it does provide a platform for us to showcase Caribbean entrepreneurs, to showcase the talent that we have here. And not only that, to attract people who want to support these entrepreneurs. And so, I just love every aspect of that, being able to step into my greatness with this platform that has been presented to me. And I have the great responsibility to run it and provide quality training, mentorship to entrepreneurs so that we can further, create dynamic Caribbean entrepreneurs and further our economy. It's just a great privilege, and I love all of it.
What's the most challenging part?
Oh, wow. We're a nonprofit. So, there are so many challenges that come with being a CEO. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that, and I'm going to speak very generally here, I don't think that people will truly grasp it until you're in it. Yeah. And you realize that a lot of your time is spent managing people, out in fires. Yeah. While putting a smile on your face, because you have to be an ambassador for your brand and for all of this. But the people management, and it's taking yourself out of execution mode into that strategic people management mode, is a lot of work. There's a lot of brain work, a lot of thinking that goes with this role, and a huge amount of responsibility that is on your shoulders every single day. Good or bad, it's on you, right? Yes. So, and being a CEO of someone else's company, you are responsible to a board, you're responsible to trustees. So it's not like it's only your business. Like, boy, it never went well today, but I'll do better tomorrow. So it's just, it's a huge amount of responsibility. So there are challenges there. And I think people take for granted the people aspect of it, getting the right people on the bus, getting them motivated and inspired to actually get things done. Yeah. Yeah.
And giving them the space to do it, and knowing when to, let go of the reins enough to let them lead and let them do their best work, but also being able to be instructive while motivating and all of that good stuff. Yeah, no, I agree with you. That is the most challenging part. And when things aren't going well, to keep everybody motivated still, because, you may be having your own private panic attack, but you have
pandemic.
You have to make sure that everybody else, still believes in the cause, because, all is lost if you believe that all is lost. I've had friends say to me, I'm looking forward to being a CEO because I don't want to, I don't want to have a boss. And I'm like, well, listen, if you have a board, then you go from having one to having several. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is, but it is such a awesome experience, especially for those women who have not stepped into this role yet. If you really want to stretch yourself and push yourself to the limit, things that you thought you weren't capable of, you actually can do, things you were afraid of, as you said, being in a boardroom every quarter, answering to people on every aspect of the business, and your leadership and your strategies, everything that you do is being put out in front in question. Did you do a good job this month or this quarter? You know, those things hold you accountable as a person, as a leader, and it keeps your focus there. But I'd also say that, you know, when you are a leader, and as you said, those challenging times that you're having personally, finding that fine balance between being a human being and letting your team know that I need to be a human being right now, not this leader who you're going to put up on a pedestal who you think doesn't make mistakes. Right? It's a fine line that I think as CEOs, and particularly as female CEOs, that we need to find. We're not being too emotional, but you can be emotional because that's your feminine side. And when you need to put on that masculine energy, and I say energy, that you can, you know, so it's that fine balance.
Yeah, and I think also being willing to be vulnerable so that people understand, you know, one, that they can touch base with the accessibility of you and your role, and understand that things aren't always going to be great. And when things aren't great, to be willing to say, listen, I'm scared too, but here's how I will attempt to lead us out of this patch. And it is such an awesome responsibility, something that you take home with you every night, because, you know, people's lives and livelihoods are on your shoulders. But it's also so satisfying when you know, listen, I've steered us out of dark waters and things are going well, and, you know, being willing to kind of know that the buck stops with you, but you also get to celebrate wins with people who you've inspired.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you see the ship come together and it's running and it's moving smoothly, and you have that knowingness that, wow, I did it. We're out of the water, we're out of it. And, you know, we're in calm waters, and there is just this celebration that you have with yourself as a person, knowing that you can get through this and you can get through other things. You can do hard things.
What you thought, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Correct.
Yes. So tell me about a time when you transformed either the organization. Tell me about your transformation journey, because I really want to highlight areas where the people that I'm talking to created change within their organizations and did that by being, you know, different from what's traditionally thought of as a leader.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I stepped into the role, I was big into wellness. I still am. And that's because I had burnt out, given all of that history of all the things I was doing. And I went on my wellness journey, and I knew that I wanted to bring wellness to the Branson Center. And it was at a very appropriate time, because when I took over, we were just a few months before the pandemic hit. And when that hit, of course, everyone around the world was impacted. Right before it hit, I decided that I wanted to shift things up, because we can do business unusual, right? Because we're Branson Center. And so we went to a 4-day work week, giving our team the ability on a Friday to start building their own business, doing, you know, what they wanted to do, and giving them the space to be with their families. So we had young families at the Branson Center. And so I started that, bringing more wellness into the space when we were there, aromatherapy, essential oils, wellness talks, and bringing women into the space who are entrepreneurs, just to talk about, you know, what's going on with them, because I had a real focus and passion for women, wellness, and not burning out and without sacrificing success. So those are the things that I brought. But when the pandemic hit and the Branson Center itself had to shift how we were doing things, we were able to get out of our own dark waters and figure out how are we going to impact the space when people were losing money, industries were collapsing. And we have now been able to move into consulting, something that the Branson Center wasn't even considering before. And now we're able to impact entrepreneurs across the Caribbean. Hopefully we'll get global. And so with this challenge that presented itself, an opportunity came out of that. And now the Branson Center, we're now consulting in the Caribbean. We are doing more things, and we're impacting more lives, while making wellness a priority for all of our team members and our entrepreneurs.
So is it just mental wellness, or is it mental and physical wellness? How are you bringing the physical wellness into it?
So I actually became a certified yoga teacher, and wellness was
No,
something. Yeah, yeah, man. I'm big into wellness. Like I love wellness.
I
So
didn't even know that.
yes. Oh, there's so much I did. I went so deep into wellness. I became a health coach. I went to Thailand to learn Thai massage, to
What?
incorporate with Reiki. Yeah, I got, because I realized that self-care is something that's so important for me. And so, and I don't think a one size fits all for everyone. So not everyone is going to want to do yoga or Reiki, what have you, but we support. And so a big part of my message to my team and the entrepreneurs is always take care of yourself first. Self-care comes first, mind, body, soul. And when you're talking about wellness, mental fitness is something that I absolutely advocate for. And that was what I was talking about before, weakening your saboteurs, those limiting beliefs, and stepping into that sage power. And meditation is a great way to do that. There are other techniques, so it's finding what works for you. And so for me, my message to everyone is make sure you're taking the time to take care of yourself. What works for you? Having conversations with my team, one-on-ones weekly, to see what's going on with you.
Yeah.
Are you okay? What do we need to do? How can I support? So that's been something that's important. And of course, incorporating that messaging into the space for our entrepreneurs as well.
So who are some of the people that supported you on your way? You said, what was it, Lysandra who sort of identified you, or was it Lisa?
So within the Branson Center.
Within
so
the
it was
Branson Center,
Lysandra,
but also in
right,
general,
Lysandra.
I want to know about who supported you on this journey.
Yeah, so it was Lysandra. So funny enough, Lysandra saw me at a farmer's market, and she was like, Lauri, you have to come to the Branson Center because they're moving from Montego Bay to Kingston. And she and I knew each other in the space when I was working at a previous accelerator, and they would come and would interact. So it was me putting myself out there, becoming known for something. And so she kind of pushed me along and brought me into the Branson Center and recognized that, hey, Laura, you could be the next CEO. And so it was a rigorous interview process. So it wasn't handed to me. Yeah. And at the end of the day, yes, I was selected. But along my journey, my mentor was a big support. My husband was a big support. When I was doing all of these wellness certifications, he was at home with the 2 babies, allowing me to do what I needed to do. My mentor was pushing me and encouraging me. And when I became CEO, I called my mentor and I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm doing with this role. And his advice to me was take care of your essentials. Wow. Make sure you get your sleep, make sure you're nourishing your body, make sure you're nourishing your mind. Says that's the first thing. And he told me, read the book, Hard Thing About the Hard Things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And because, the first thing was make sure that you're able to step up to the plate every day to make those hard decisions.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do that is if you're taking care of yourself.
Yes. Put on your mask first before you help somebody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such good advice. The hard thing about the hard things. I haven't heard of that one, so I'm gonna have to find it and read it, because I think that's so important. So often, and sometimes we have this culture as leaders of, oh yeah, well, who's the most worn out and who's the most not taking care of themselves, and oh well, I only sleep 2 hours a night, and I never exercise, and I eat poorly because I'm just running from meeting to meeting. And I'm like, let's not glamorize. I mean, I appreciate the hustle, I absolutely do, but I've certainly learned over time that you cannot run an organization, you cannot take care of others unless you are at least taking care of your basic needs.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. We should not be glorifying burning the candle at 2 ends. And I think one of the reasons that I was able to get through the pandemic with the team without people, running to, find better opportunities is because you take care of your people and you have to lead by example. So, if you're at the office till 10 o'clock and you're taking work home and you're encouraging that kind of behavior, then that's what they're going to do. And that's what's expected. I don't do that. And if you're taking work home for so many hours, it means that you're doing something wrong. So, I absolutely agree. We should not encourage that.
Yeah, no, it's not, there's no There's no glamour in burning yourself out. And I was reading this book that talked about the power of meditation and how important it was to kind of meditate. And you think that you lose the time for meditation, but the clarity and the space and the taking a step back or taking a break to just kind of listen to your thoughts and understand what you should do next. What's the next most important thing to do? And if you're only consumed with doing, you're never going to take that step back and understand, am I even doing the right thing?
Yes, absolutely. And there's science that backs this stuff. When you have good mental fitness and you can develop that through meditation, it means that you have control of your mind and your thoughts. So when your mind, those saboteurs are coming in and they're saying, oh my God, that this bad thing is happening, your brain is wired to go down that dark hole. If you can grab that thought and say, whoops, let's move that over and let's move it into a better space where I can actually make better decisions and I'm going down in a more positive trajectory, then you will win. And that comes through getting control of your mind. And when you sit in meditation, you are doing that. You're getting that kind of control and mental fitness.
So would you say that's the best advice you've been given to take care of your essentials, or was there other advice that you think ranks up there with what you needed to know to be ready for these roles?
Yeah, I think that we also as CEOs get stuck. Some of us get stuck in I have to do the best thing for the people and for the organization. And you do that to your detriment. Another piece of advice I got was, and it was from someone else, but it was, do what's right for you as a CEO and you will do what's right for everyone else.
Really? That is so counterintuitive.
Yes.
And it's absolutely the opposite of what I do. I feel like if I do what's right for the organization, that things will work out for me. That if I put the organization's needs first and I make the best decisions, because if I make the best decisions for me, things may, the decisions may be very different. And so I always try, and people are like, well, how were you able to make that decision? Because that wasn't in your best interest at all. And I'm like, if I put the needs of the organization first, then my needs will take care of themselves because I would have done the right thing. So explain this one to me. I love it.
Yeah. And so, funny enough, it's actually one of my board members.
Really?
Yes. So one of my board, I'm like, in the middle of chaos and confusion, and you can get, so I'm a very democratic type of CEO, and I like to, get feedback. I'm also a very caring CEO because, I just say a caring person. I want to see people thrive. And you take on such responsibility for the lives of people that you get attached to the outcome. You get attached to the outcome for the organization, and it muddies your perspective. So moving into what's the best decision for the organization absolutely is something that as a CEO you ought to do. But when you're faced with some of these challenging experiences, particularly when you're in a pandemic, if you can do what's right for you as a CEO, and you can become a better person because you're creating an environment that is right for you to be your best, then you're going to be of service to the organization. You're going to absolutely, and it's something that I speak about for people in general. When you take care of yourself, when you love yourself, when you know yourself through self-awareness, then you can self-actualize and you can now be of service to others. You see, we always take this perspective of, let me help others first. Yeah. And my needs will be met. It's the same thing as putting on your oxygen mask, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. So when you are stepping up to this plate as the best version of yourself, because you've created this environment that's right for you to be the best, then you are going to give the organization your best. And that was a freeing piece of advice that I got, because I was like,
mind-blowing.
What do I do? How do I do this? How do I get through this? And I go, okay, what would I do? How would this be right for me to be the best leader in this moment? And I took that advice and I and I got through, because I wasn't thinking about the needs of a million different people.
Right.
It will come. It's not a selfish thing. And I think that's something that as leaders, as you said, it's counterintuitive. Yeah. And it's counterintuitive in all of our lives. Because when we even look for jobs, if you're looking for a job that's going to move you to the next level, you have to think about you first.
Yeah.
You think about you. What's the right environment for you? Because, you know, often people, they choose what they think is the right thing, and they don't know their personalities well enough to know what environment is right for them to thrive and shine in. And so you do the opposite, and you become so wrapped up in trying to be this person that your confidence wanes. You're, you know, you think you're not good enough. You become an imposter syndrome comes in, and you're trying to be like the other person instead of staying in your zone of genius with your strengths, the things that you're good at, so that you can say, okay, here, I'm going to create value now for you and for me with these strengths, with this environment that's right for you, for me, and I'm going to create value.
No, this is so groundbreaking for me, because I think one of the jobs that I had that was the worst fit, and great people there, but it was not a good fit. And it was because I took the decision because I thought this was what was best for my family. And I knew it wasn't the best decision for me, but I was like, you know, you need to do what's right for your family. So do what's right for the family and not what's right for you. And immediately I knew, wrong decision, you know, because then not only was it not a good fit, I resented having made the decision, even though I made it.
Yes. And that's what happened. A lot of women, we go through this. I've done this throughout my whole life. And that is why now at this point, this is what I'm doing personally now. I am sharing this message, and I'm using this platform, as I said earlier in the conversation, to spread this message. Because when I got to that point where I was taking jobs that were not right for me, because we had to have an income, because we had to do these things, and you know, it looked good, and it didn't sit well, it didn't fit well with me. I became miserable, bored, frustrated, as you said, resentful, and that all spills over into your family life where you don't want it. It spills over into your friendships, your relationships, and it does not serve anyone. But the minute that I recognized that I had to start with self-love through self-care, and then move on to self-awareness and understanding what my personality was, understanding what my actual strengths were, my strengths being my preferred skills, not my burnout skills, not the things that I'm good at, but that I hate doing and burning me out, but my preferred skills. And then my zone of genius, which is, you know, my particular way of problem solving and thinking, coupled with those skills. And now what matters to me, what cause matters to me. And as I mentioned before, the company I was working with before, I took on those roles and those extra responsibilities because this meant something to me. And those are all things that drive you. And as a matter of fact, it's in another book by Daniel Pink. He did a lot of research. I love reading. I love research, right? He wrote a book called Drive, and it's
I love Drive. One of my favorites.
Right.
Number 8 on my list of favorite books of all time.
Exactly. And it is, and the 3 motivators are autonomy, being able to choose tasks that are right for you. And the only way you can do that is if you know your personality and you know what environment is right for you. 2, self-mastery, understanding what your skills are, what your strengths are. And 3, purpose. And to me, that's something that matters, because I always like to say that, you know, purpose is just too big a word for me, too big a word for people. It's scary because, you know, when you say this is my purpose, it sounds like this is final and this is it. And all of those aspects of self-awareness are motivating factors. And so when you have self-awareness, you have motivation to actually get up and be of service now to your community, whether that's your company, whether it's your job, whether it's your family, whoever. When you start there, then you can actually create value.
Fabulous. Fabulous. I think that's a wonderful and perfect way for us to close out. Lauri-Ann, thank you so much. I learned more than I bargained for. And I literally have to now sit down and sort of rethink my approach. I love it. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I feel like I want to have you back to talk about the other things that you're working on. And so we'll keep in touch and continue to hopefully get inspiration from you and your work. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on and providing this platform for me to share my message. I appreciate it.
Brilliant message. Thank you so much, Lauri-Ann. And please subscribe to the podcast. I mean, this was absolutely genius. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you're learning along with us and inspiring you on your leadership journey. Thank you. Bye.